Yeah,
How are
man,
you? What's going on?
not much. Just I'm tired, dude. I've had a few last couple of weeks. I don't know what's happening, but I guess it's like the summer as well. Like the summer makes things a little bit harder for everybody. Um,
hmm
but yeah, I feel like I need like a vacation or something because right now it just a bit exhausting, to be honest.
Yeah, at least 3 days you need to detach a bit. I mean, you look fresh.
Yeah,
To be honest, maybe you love what you do. I don't know.
because I'm fresh, but but yeah, man, it just so what I've been doing is like having a little bit like not off days, but like days where I do something else. Uh, but completely off days, I think from time to time are needed, right?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely,
uh,
definitely. I mean, just uh, watching the river or the sea or whatever, or going to the mountains to watch the green environment. That's sometimes all it takes.
yeah. I think it's that plus like this quarantine. It can be like a shoebox that you get in, like where everything gets louder and the thoughts really don't go away. So like it magnifies what you're
hmm
feeling. So if you're feeling low with everything that's going on, I feel like you feel even lower, and the negative feelings kind of like resonate on this shoebox that we're stuck. And things like I don't know, like not being able to go to the United States, then it gets bigger than what it really is when it's just
Yeah, I mean, you can easily get depressed over things.
but things that are like kind of stupid, but because you're kind of hey Bratislav, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Uh, but yeah, man, it's been uh, not depressing, but definitely like rough some days and feeling like I'm just not feeling like working today or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it happens. It happens. There's
Okay,
highs and
so
lows.
I saw a few topics that we can talk about it, and I think you will love them both. The first
Okay.
one is what do you do when the prospect says the price is too high? I saw it yesterday on Facebook. I talked about it today on LinkedIn, and I want to hear your opinion about it. What do you do when it
Yeah,
happens?
I think I saw your post, um, and I agree mostly. So it depends of like where they say it's too high. If you're sending a proposal and they say it's too high, then you've done something wrong. I think, in my opinion, um, if they say too high in the beginning of the conversation, then either it's not a good fit or you have not explained the value that you're bringing to the table. Um, but if they say later, so let's say if they say later, let's say you have the whole conversation, they agree, you put together a proposal with a couple of packages, maybe giving them a couple of options, which is something that I also do. I saw that you're doing as well. Um, and you send it to them and they say the price is too high, then one, if it's true and they don't have the budget, then it's your mistake that you should have known that before. And if it's not true and they do have the budget, but they're telling you that it's an excuse, it's probably that you have not represented the value that they're going to get out of it. So I think it's easily one of the simplest objections to refute, I think. Because if you're able to show why the value that you're getting is higher than the price, then that kind of doesn't exist. And if you've done the sales process right, you know that they have the budget before you send the proposal. So that's something that I struggled with at the beginning. And I changed it and solved it by simply asking, do you have a budget in mind for this? Like that simple question on the first call or second call can really like shape the conversations moving forward.
Yeah, totally agree. One thing I additionally do, when they fill in the Calendly on the website, I have an option for them to choose like the budget. If it is like from 500 to 2,000, or from 1,000 to 2,000, or more than 2,000. And by that information, I know how serious they are about what they want to invest in. And in another circumstances, I just had a call with the customer who did that. So somebody called me directly, didn't schedule anything, didn't send me a message on LinkedIn, just call me directly.
Yeah. Did they have your number, or how did they get your number?
No idea. Probably on LinkedIn. No idea, man. I was with my headphones and on a meeting with a friend, and the phone started to ring, and I answered, and I realized that I didn't disconnect it from the headphones.
Yeah.
So I hear the voice through the headphones, and I just switch it off, and I said, "Now you can talk." I didn't know who is calling back, but it was fun. Anyway, we schedule a call, and then on the call I asked them about the budget. They didn't know, so I created the offer with the 3 packages. And today we had a call when, I mean, they want to invest in marketing. It's just the questions of do they understand everything that's in the package?
Right.
So I needed to go through each thing and explain, because like the lady who was on the call was somebody who was in marketing like 10 years ago with media buying, television, radio,
right,
those kind of things, and she just needed to see how new media are working.
Yeah.
And basically we decided to go with like the first package without advertising, without everything, just to set up everything and to go slow so they can understand. And what I loved is how are they setting the goals. Basically, this is, well, maybe the first time that I'm seeing that somebody is coming and saying, okay, how do you measure things? How do you consider who is your content performing? Are we getting somewhere? So she said, like, we measure everything by getting calls or getting new clients, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she didn't have a clue how long is their sales cycle, how long is the buyer's journey. Nothing. She just knows when somebody comes in and like buys a service or schedules a call.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with the average like sales cycle to use that metric and to go from there. But it's good to see that people who are coming are actually ones who knows the value of the services they are going after. I mean, all the time they were saying like, we wanted to get to somebody who is professional and it's what he does, and that's why we went to you. And I think that's one of the most important things when setting up the price is how do you educate people before they reach out to you? Do you create the demand that's right for your services? Right, not going somebody after a price that like the freelancer can do or something else. You need to be clear on what value are you delivering and how much you are charging for that.
Makes sense. That reminds me of like that objection of like, I don't know how much budget do we have, or we don't have a clear budget. One of my mentors, whose name is Anthony Tombiolo, he ran a digital product innovation studio in New York, grew it to $4 million a year, and sold it last year. He's one of our latest clients, and he now runs this community of agency owners, and he has this course on agency finances. So he's somebody that like I've learned a lot from in this area. And when I asked him about how to answer when somebody says I don't have a clear budget, what he told me or what he shared with me that he used to do is like put a number that's really large and offer that as like a potential budget. So like we don't have a budget. Okay, how about would $5,000 a month work? And they say, oh no, then you do have a budget, right? So now you can like start lowering. Okay, would $2,000 a month work? Oh, maybe. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So that was one strategy that he shared with me. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, and he explained it better than I'm explaining. But that was something that I learned from him in ways to like really understand what the budget actually people have, because we do all have a budget, right? I think we all know a budget. We just don't want to share it because then we think that they're going to sell us at the budget versus at the regular price point.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to ask. I mean, it can be useful for both sides. I mean, if they don't have the budget for your services, we don't need to talk more about it. You know, we don't need to get into detail to get even to the offer if they don't have like the minimal budget for your services.
Yeah, I think we need to balance that with like explaining the value, right? Because I might not have $1,000 budget, but if you actually show me the value that I'm going to get, or that the possibilities of getting a $2,000, $3,000 return, then I might actually consider how can I get the budget right now, like if I really believe in it. Or still, if in the future I do have the budget, I still want to leave a good impression on that person, right? Sometimes a lower offer can also work. For example, for me, there's people that don't have the done for you service that doesn't work for them, right? $1,000, $2,000 a month is not going to work for them. So maybe like a consulting call can help, right? I've done consulting calls for like quite cheap for the value they're getting, $150, $200 an hour. And you get the information. You have to apply yourself, but you get the information. So it's still good to build that relationship, even if they don't have the budget, I think. Because you never know, right? Like they might know somebody so I still want to present it, even if they don't have the budget, but just to not burn a bridge. I see Bratislav asks if it's a good idea to compare your pricing to your competitors. It's a good question. For us, we just don't have that many competitors because we've really niched down to something very specific. So it's hard for me to even come up with somebody that does what we do. There's a couple people that do similar stuff. I don't even know what their pricing is. I'm guessing if you work in a SaaS company, which I think Bratislav is what you were doing. Feel free to jump in, by the way. Then the pricing is more public. I don't think. I mean, it depends, right? If you're going for a lower pricing strategy, like you want to be the cheapest competitor, then yes, right? If that's your value prop, that you're the cheapest and you provide the same service or a similar quality service, then yeah, that's your strength. If you don't want to be the cheapest, I'd say comparing pricing is not a good idea because then it's a race to the bottom.
I always remember here I agree with you on everything. It's also, I'm also going into the direction that nobody here in this area is going.
Right.
And I also agree for what you said about possible things that Bratislav can do. I always remember the example. There's a ironed, or how do they call it, flat sausage in my hometown, Pirot. It's one of the, I think maybe the most famous, definitely the most expensive, delicious in Serbia. Something that like president of the country is giving away to somebody else,
right?
Some other representatives of the countries, and there are a few things about it. First one is it's unique. Yeah. Because basically people are using like the plastic bottle to iron the sausage every few days, and then it stands on the wind and just gets into the shape that it's final shape. The second one is the only one, because there's no competition over there. Nobody is doing anything similar. Maybe by like have similar meat or something. It's like 3 or 4 kinds of meat inside, nothing else, just meat and like some other spices. And the third one is like being the first.
Right.
And when I take a look at those 3, what would you say? What is the one thing that you wanna drop off out of those 3 things?
So it was being the first,
being the first, being unique, and and having no competition, basically.
So which one do I want, or which one do I not care about?
Which one do you not care about?
I probably don't care about being first, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it, because it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But let's take a look at from the other perspective. If you are the only one and you're promoting it as the only one, it means that somebody might try to do something else. They might succeed, they might not. If you wanna go with being like the best, that's not something that you want to go with. I would drop off that part, because I mean, tomorrow somebody else might create something that's better than your product, but being the first remains always here.
Right.
You know, you are the first one, and that's it. There's no changing it.
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting. But yeah, comparing pricing is a challenge. I think it's hard to win when your value proposition is to be the cheapest, or to be like we all know the saying of like, if you're not the cheapest, then be the most expensive one. Right. I do think there's some value there, and some that we're pushing towards as well, because there's no point in, the higher your pricing, the better quality of clients you get, the better that relationship is, the more it shows that you know your value and that you're professional and you're capable of delivering results. So I think it depends of whether pricing is public or not. If pricing is not public, I would not even mention them. And if pricing is public, then it depends of like the angle that you guys are going after. If they bring it up, it's a matter of showing like the value you're getting for the price money. So if they say they're $50 cheaper or $100 cheaper, okay, but can they do X, Y, Z? Or is that difference in pricing going to count for the rest? If it does, perfect, go for them. But if it doesn't, then I think we're still a good option.
Yeah, it's just too many things that you need, too many variables you need to take into considerations. Even if you are giving them like the actual value with the trials or with demo, I mean, you still have to use the comparison. By the way, that's the great strategy, to like use the comparison to other companies in your niche, like for the SEO, and also for like getting people to really decide when they are in deciding mode, like which one should they choose, like seeing one next to each other, and what are the benefits of using this one, what are the benefits of using this one, and really seeing which of those benefits you want to go all in on, and which ones are not that important to you. I mean, that can be important for the price also.
Right, but that goes further than just comparing the price.
Yeah,
I think just comparing the price is usually not a good strategy. Comparing more things, like you said, on a comparison page or site, I think that's a good relevant strategy as long as you're. I've seen a few examples of this done well. I think Drift has a good comparison page. There's a few companies that have it, and like you said, for SEO, it's really effective because you're looking for Drift versus a competitor, and you go to Drift website. That's a big W for Drift.
Yeah, there's a larger story behind it. I mean, Drift actually invented the category,
right?
And they decided to go on something else, and they have like the main competitor, which is which they are like going after. I mean, basically, they're going one after another.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we talked a lot about some things that we haven't done before. And the second thing I wanted us to chat about is something that I'm noticing, that there's too much content everywhere in the space. Like, content marketing is everywhere. And on the other hand, when I talk to company owners and I see what's going on, I see that buyer's journey, sales cycles are not going shorter because of that content. They are actually becoming longer. And people are spending more time into researching the buying, researching the product, services. What do you think about it?
On the side that there's a lot of content.
Let me just say it. A lot of mediocre content.
Right, that's where I was going. Content in social media has no barriers of entry. Like, everybody can write a blog post. Everybody can put a LinkedIn post, a tweet. So when there's no barriers of entry, there's usually a lot of it, but a lot of it is mediocre, right? So I think this happens everywhere. When dropshipping was the new business model that everybody wanted to get into, it was so popular because it had no barriers of entry. So you could start with $0, right? You can write a tweet, an article, a blog post with $0. Now, like we saw in dropshipping as well, most of the companies fail, right? So no barriers of entry allow for a lot of competition on the mediocre level. But once you jump a little bit to a higher quality type of content, you're getting 90% or 95% out of the way. So all these companies that are writing shitty blog posts, outsourcing to like Philippine companies for $10, 1,000 words, all these companies that their LinkedIn is just a billboard of links. Like, yes, that's content, but it's so shit that it doesn't really matter. Right, so I don't even count that as content, really. It just companies thinking that they have to put something out, not believing in the strategy, but having heard somebody say that content is important in putting out. As long as you go one level up, you're eliminating the vast majority of content creators, at least in my opinion. Yeah,
I mean, somehow it's. A lot of companies don't think about the buyers when they are creating the content.
Right.
They think about companies' buyer's journey, like how they see it, not how it's actually happening. Not thinking about buyer's journey, right? So and somehow I think people don't ask important questions about the content, like. Is it actually simplifying the buying decisions? Is it shortening the buying process? Is it making it easier for the buyers to actually buy? Right. And by not doing that, then we have like more information. We have people asking more questions, and then it prolongs the purchase decision, right? So somehow it makes it difficult for people to actually decide to buy something. And I think there seems to be like the disconnect between actually creating the content and enabling buyers to buy.
Yeah, I think the content has to be really bad for it to make the sales process longer. Right? Like I've never seen content that makes the process longer. I'm sure there is. I think there's content that eliminates the process. So if a content piece is so bad that I'm not buying from them, then it's not prolonging it, it's just cutting it out of the way. But I guess I understand what you mean by like buyers asking more questions versus moving down the funnel. I think a big problem with that, and my company has is not the reason, but like we don't help it, is that a lot of companies focus on top of the funnel content, awareness based, right? For SEO, LinkedIn, Twitter, most of it is top of the funnel, and they're not investing in like having some good, valuable middle and bottom of the funnel content pieces that will actually move people down towards making a decision. So I don't know what the ratio is, but there has to be a ratio of, for X number of top of the funnel pieces that I create, I'm going to create one case study, or I'm going to ask for one testimonial, or I'm going to put out a webinar or something like that. And a lot of companies are forgetting that, right? So you do need you need top of the funnel for sure, but don't forget about the middle and bottom, because that's what also is going to drive conversion rates and sales cycle length.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like people are just trying to do what other people are doing, who are also not doing great when it comes to content. And by doing that, they are just creating more questions instead of solving problems.
Right.
That's something that I'm seeing. Who knows? Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But it just looks like something like that is happening, and that we need to go more to the customers, to the buyers, and really like get to know them. That seems to be the biggest problem, and it's the most easy one to solve.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's something that I've been thinking a lot this week. We actually kind of briefed on it last week on the episodes when you mentioned, I think I tagged you on Twitter about what you're sharing in comparison to what the client, the market needs you to share, right? Like, I'm gonna, as I speak, I'm gonna try to find the graph on Twitter that I tagged you on, because I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and you mentioned it last week, right? About thinking, trying to go back to the basics and sharing content that, while for you and I might seem obvious, it's what the market needs you to hear. It needs to hear from you, right? So I realized that a lot of our content, I don't want to say it's too advanced, but it's too forward. Like, it's more for marketers than for B2B CEOs, right? And I was talking with my team about it, that we probably need to change that, because we're just not speaking to the right people at this time.
You know what's happening to me? Like, the marketers started to call and they want to hire us to do demand generation for them. They are doing other things when it comes to marketing, and they want to outsource it to us. Right. So it seems like marketers or salespeople are also the good target group for us, even though I didn't see it at first.
Right. Yeah. For you, that might make a lot of sense, but we're not so much into the demand generation per se, right? Like we're not doing paid ads, we're not doing all that stuff. It was a real realization of like, this is not the content that a B2B CEO needs to see, right? It's the content that they should see, but it's not the one that they needed right now. I have the graphic here. I'm going to share the screen. It's here on the left. Of like, here's what the B2B CEO knows. I'm sharing here about demand gen and like how to utilize marketing and all that stuff, versus sharing here, which is like the basics of personal branding and B2B content marketing and why it's important and how can a B2B CEO save time and still do it, and why this is something that has to come from leadership to the bottom. And it was a realization between what you talked last time and seeing the graph. This kind of visualized it for me, and it made it click that we're not doing the right type of stuff, and we could see even better results if we just moved it a little bit down to what they need versus what I want to share.
Yeah, basically that shift that I have done, it still goes. Like I went into one direction and I keep like going at it, and it grows. I mean, it didn't stop at that time that we talked.
Yeah,
it just keeps going up, and like engagement is following that. New opportunities are following that. I mean, I'm speaking, recording few podcasts, going on a huge conference with like all the big shots, like when we were talking about Chris Walker, about Amy Wallace, about those kind of things. I'm like invited to be a speaker with all those guys, right? So it all has also some other things that are following when you are talking the right language for your audience. One thing that I think is also important, maybe for you, when you're talking to the CEOs, is that a lot of them, at least the younger ones now, are coming from the development background, from engineering background. And I've been seeing that when I was talking with a few friends of mine who are working at Tuchel in other IT companies, who from like Switzerland, Germany, who have departments here in Serbia, and like they are doing employer branding. Most of them that I talk with them, but they needed to explain why it matters. Why do they need actually that department? Why do they need CEO to be active and then to activate all the other people from the company? And they needed to go on their level and explain it from the engineer's perspective.
Right.
Yeah. Going totally in some other territory.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think our issue there is that we have not specialized in a vertical yet. And that's something that we will probably have to do eventually. Our best clients are CEOs of agencies, ideally marketing, because one,
marketing.
They know marketing. That's first, right? And two, like they are me, right? Like it's very easy to create marketing for people who are just like you, right? Like what works for you will work for them. What won't work for you won't work for them. It makes the content creation very simple. And then the conversation and the rapport is also very simple. The problem with those people is that they usually have a team inside that creates content. Not always, but a lot of agencies, marketing agencies do. So we'll see. We're still testing different markets. I think we're very young as a company. Like, I don't expect us to be very successful until 2 or 3 more years.
We all have time.
Yeah. So we're now tasting markets. Something that we've found successful is fintech, for example. And we never thought that was going to be one thing. We're working with a Fortune 500. We're working with a few CPAs and financial people. Like who knows, right? That might be the thing that makes it click. But for now, we're just trying to, one, stack up on cash as a company, and two,
Develop the skills.
See what doesn't.
I guess develop the skills of the skill set of the people to just deliver more value to that.
Yeah, and systemizing things. And like I said, stacking up on cash so that we can, whenever we're ready to take the next step, we are, right? Like whenever I can go to America, whenever we can do that, we have a cushion that kind of keeps us afloat when we're restructuring things. Because at one point we're going to have to restructure a few things.
Sounds good. Sounds good, like the good basics.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, to be honest. But yeah, man, it's been mentally a bit tough last couple of weeks, but it's good to chat with you, man, because I get when I talk to other like CEOs and agency owners and people, it re-energizes a little bit the energy. Even from a competition standpoint, it's like, all right, you like don't fall behind. Don't fall behind.
Yeah, you know what I started to do recently? People started to reach out to me like, let's have a virtual coffee, let's get to know each other, those kind of things. And saying yes, okay, I can always give like half an hour for that, just to get to know people. They might know somebody else, somebody would recommend me, they need to see that I'm a nice guy actually. And what I'm doing, I'm asking them, can we record that? Because usually those are people that I'm seeing on LinkedIn posting, sharing some meaningful things, valuable, and I know that they can give me great perspective and great insights. So I started to record those like virtual coffees, and I'm going to use it also for my content, and I'm going to like use it also to give them to create more content, right? And then I'm spreading basically the community and giving value out of like virtual coffee.
I like that. Yeah, honestly, you could just turn it into a podcast, right? Like it's kind of the same thing as what I do on the podcast on our end. Just record it, make some content out of it. We even send some content to them because like the people that I invite to the podcast, it's people that I'd like to have as clients usually.
Yeah.
And I want them to see it. It's like, for us, it's like, when you go to a supermarket or back in the day and they would have like a plate of cheese that you could like get a sample for free. That's kind of like how our podcast works. We get you some content for free. That way you see it, you taste it. And you can.
I have some ideas for the Funky Marketing podcast. I'm probably going to start recording next week, and we're going to see where it takes us. Basically, I want to have people who are not familiar to the wider audience and who are doing great things for the good companies and for the good people. So I want to give them like the voice.
Yeah, it's been fun. For me, it's probably been one of the best decisions that I've made as the CEO to do the podcast, especially from a networking side of things.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was waiting to start this, and then like last week we finally got Spotify in Serbia. We didn't have it.
Really?
Yeah, and like, okay, my podcast is already over there. Let's start getting some episodes.
Yeah. It was crazy for me to see my podcast on Spotify. Like, it's just not a place where you would imagine that you would see yourself. I'm thinking that it's there. It was fun because I'm a bit.
What are you using for distribution? I'm right now on Anchor, and I'm thinking about going continue going in that direction? I mean, Anchor is distributing it everywhere.
Yeah, I've had no problems with Anchor. It takes a few extra days to distribute on Apple Music or Apple Podcast.
Yeah.
But Anchor is great, to be honest. It just all I would say is like make sure you keep them saved, the episodes, because if they get deleted on Anchor, they don't have any way to back them up, so they don't have a backup. And that happened to us with one of the clients. We had like I don't know what happened, but somebody like logged in and deleted stuff, and there's no backup in Anchor. We had them, but it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, Anchor's great. I think as another quick tip, if you're starting the podcast, it's important to know or to have a system for like the follow-up, just like to keep building that relationship. So for us, it's send the invite, schedule 48 hours before we send the questions, episode. Next day we say thank you. Then the week after we say the podcast is live and we send them an email. And then a month after, we usually send them an email asking if we can meet with no cameras and just have a conversation to like further the relationship and get to know each other a bit more. So it's kind of a process where, because otherwise you'll do the podcast, record it, and then kind of forget about the guest, and you're not building that anonymous relationship there. So something to think about. I think that can be helpful.
Also one thing that I think it would be interesting for you. I just saw it and I talked to a few people who are actually doing it. Right now I will be the guest on a podcast, a US-based podcast, and they are doing like the pre-interviews. And I think more and more people are doing it like 15 minutes, and they get to see, who I am. They get to find some interesting stories and get to get more into details on some things that they wouldn't even think about when they look at my profile.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure where I stand on the 15 minutes. I think ideally, in a perfect world, you do the 15-minute pre-interview. In a real world, you're going to lose some people there. Because, like, if you're interviewing a CEO of an $80 million company, like, just be thankful for the 30 minutes. Like, don't ask for 15 minutes one day and 30 minutes another day. So I think in some cases, sure, having a 15-minute interview is great before, and it'd be ideal. But in reality, it's probably hard to do that because it doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, I would not join a podcast if they talk. I mean, I probably would, but big people probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I think this one, when I have like the good audio, this will be our first episode that we can put somewhere when we have audio, right?
Yeah, mine is supposed to be getting here this weekend. I got 2 microphones. So I have this camera that I got for when I was supposed to go to America, and I was going to start a vlog in New York because I thought I'm going to New York, it's going to be fun. Let's start a vlog. And I got a mic that goes here, so for blogging, and then a mic like you have for like the podcast. I have this one, but it broke, and I think it fell to the floor and it broke. So it's supposed to get here this week, and probably next Thursday or Wednesday we'll have a 2-way good audio.
Yeah. Let's wait for it and just put things on another perspective.
Yeah,
then I'm happy that we are finding topics to talk about each Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's easy to find topics, to be honest. Like between you and I, with other people it'd be harder. But like there's always something to talk about. Even if it's just LinkedIn posts from other people that we can either 2 cents on top, like this 15-minute pre-interview call, or even what's happening during the week. I think it's good content.